Cameroun, c'est également un pays qui a doté le monde de talents extraordinaires, des fils et filles qui, bien que loin du pays, font la fierté de la terre de leurs ancêtres. Ici ou ailleurs, dans les gènes de chaque Camerounais réside une détermination à réussir, une volonté inébranlable à briller, un fighting spirit des meilleurs et un esprit de vainqueur qui le pousse à travailler avec ardeur et à exceller dans chaque domaine, quels que soient les obstacles. C'est ce que j'appelle la Camère Excellence. Célébrons l'excellence camerounaise.
Good afternoon, good people. It's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Like every other Friday on this television, the Republican television, we come back with the papers at 1 o'clock to discuss what men and women of the written press have treated the news, making stories in the country. And with our guests in the studio, we are going to be highlighting on some of the juicy news stories. Only on this television from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. we bring to you those good stories from our colleagues of the print media. And then we bring out to you as well some of those things that make Cameroonians talk. And yes, for 1 hour 30 minutes, we will be together in the company of wonderful gentlemen with whom we'll be discussing all what is in the kiosks. And we always remind you to try your best to get a paper because the news headlines definitely do not give you the entire story. Get yourself a newspaper. It's just 400 francs and help the press to survive. With me in the studio are 4 wonderful gentlemen. I'm the only hen in their midst and I feel good about it as well. Our own Ernest Akufo, who is right here in this exceptional and how do I call it, unique traditional regalia. He's known for that, of course. Good afternoon to you, Ernest Akufo. It is his signature.
Good afternoon, Promise. You pulled my leg there. Good afternoon to viewers of this television and welcome to this edition of the program The Papers. I want to say happy day already to all the youths in Cameroon and wish them well as we expect to hear what the head of state is going to say this evening. You know, it has always been a moment where the youths are all ears, listening, waiting to hear the good things and then see them being implemented. We'll just keep our fingers crossed.
Fingers and toes are crossed while waiting for the head of state's address to the youth at 8 p.m. Cameroon time tonight on all stations, I'm sure, in Cameroon and beyond. Franklin Wanchin is right here with us. I used to call him the only Cameroonian with a Chinese name, but I will not say that today because I'm being nice. So good afternoon to you, Frank.
Good afternoon, Promise. Good afternoon, my fellow panelists. Good afternoon to all the viewers of Camden TV. I think it's a pleasure for me to be here tonight, this afternoon, for us to talk about papers, more especially looking into our youthful society. Our youths are in their week, and why not think about our decision makers who are about to be elected in a few days?
Definitely, we are anticipating how it's going to look like, and our own very vibrant, very pushful Lambert Kevin is right here with us. Good afternoon to you, Lam.
Thanks a lot, and thank God for pronouncing the name correctly.
I always try my best
to.
K
event. That you started it. K event. K is start, and then you started it. So
high, then low tone.
It's a pleasure. it's a pleasure to be here with our famous media guru. And put it that way. Famous. Sometimes I want to call him Daddy. I want to call him Shufa. I want to call him Tama. I want to call him all the names. Enis Akufo. And it's always a pleasure coming on air to talk issues that can help the youth, especially as we're talking about the Youth Day tomorrow. So I think that somebody's listening to somewhere, and at the end of this 1 hour 30 minutes, something's going to happen, because we are tired of talking every day, and on the contrary, you see that nothing seems to be changing. Inshallah, we expect that something's going to happen. Coupled with the fact that today is Friday, and some of us who love the Muslims, Muslim faithful, that as they are going to the mosque a few minutes from now, they should pray and put this country in the hands of the Almighty Allah, so that as soon as possible, inshallah, something will be changed.
I see how you are with them in one accord today by your outfit.
Yes, it's a signal. If you want to, if you have been monitoring me in Bui, you will see that I go with everybody.
Okay.
Yes.
That's nice. It's called national integration, and we are doing well. We are one people. Ladies and gents, the panel is ready. We are right here. Next stop, let's go into the kiosks and see what the papers are saying. We are up next with the press review. Welcome back. We are taking you straight into the kiosk. Remember that, of course, almost every blessed day we have stories from our colleagues of the print media. We begin with Le Messager of today, which says les non-dits d'un verdict. Of course, the Mebengo affair. Remember that on page 2 of Le Messager, you can read that dans le labyrinthe d'un procès cafouin, wow, c'est faux, au thème duquel l'ancien MINDEF est condamné à 30 ans de détention pour détournement des deniers publics. Definitely we had stories of the sentence given to the former Minister of Defense, Edgar Alamebengo, and the paper Le Messager still talks about the affaire Martinez-Ogo coincée dans les embouteillages. We definitely will go to the next paper. Lots of stories to read from Mutation, the quotidien, of course. It comes to un naufragé. L'assassinat de Martinez-Ogo est un crime d'État. You can find on page 5 of Mutation, which talks about the officials of the Bureau of Investigations of Reporters Without Borders, says of course the journalist is giving out revelations on the investigations which are on course. Still on this Mutation newspaper, we'll talk about urban transport. We are heading towards an increase in the price of taxis. A question on Mutation, page 4, transport urbain vers une hausse du prix du taxi, and with a question mark on it. The next newspaper is L'Info à chaud, which comes back to the assassination of Martinez-Ogo and talks about lundi anecdotique. Definitely, ce qui s'est réellement passé de la résidence du Zomloa en van au groupement de gendarmerie. You want to have details of that edition of L'Info à chaud on page 3, which also gives us the program, the official funeral program of Minister Gabriel Ndodondoke. Remember, he died a few days ago, some weeks back, and you have his funeral program on page 4 of L'Info à chaud. The next newspaper up next is Quotidien Émergence, which has on its main headlines Amogo Belenga interpellé. Il a été appréhendé hier matin chez lui et conduit au CED dans le cadre de l'affaire Martinez-Zogo. D'autres personnes aussi arrêtées. We come back, of course, inexhaustibly to the Martinez-Zogo case. Meanwhile, we talk about services financiers, l'activité en pleine croissance. Of course, financial activities are gaining ground in Cameroon. The next newspaper comes back again, of course, to l'affaire Martinez-Zogo, still with l'imitation. It says l'anecdote décapitée. That's, I'm sure that should be Tuesday's edition of Mutation, which says le patron du groupe et 3 de ses proches collaborateurs ont été interpellés hier et conduits au CED. And of course, Mutation also talks about Mimboman, des écoliers and trans. If you want to have details of that story, human interest story on page 4 of Le Mutation. The next newspaper is the Guardian Post, which comes back to the killing of Martinez-Zogo. Vision got the television boss Amogo Belinga arrested for alleged involvement. His close collaborator Bruno Bijang, private security chief, also picked up for questioning. You can find details of that story on page 3. Meanwhile, on the head of Guardian Post, it comes back to the appointment of Bel Antoine as chair of National Sports Facilities and Equipment Board. That was by the head of state who appointed him this week. And then the Guardian Post talks about ending female genital mutilation as stakeholders call for change of mentality and the involvement of men and boys. Very important headline there from the Guardian Post newspaper. The next newspaper is Cameroon Tribune, the National Bilingual Daily, which talks about the candidatures for senatorials to this year, candidature au sénatorial, le jour de vérité. Definitely when the electoral body of Cameroon, ELECAM, gave the final list of parties going in for the elections, that is on the 12th of March, les 13 partis politiques ayant fait acte de candidature et leurs postulants seront fixés sur leur sort aujourd'hui à l'issue de la publication des listes par le Conseil électoral ELECAM. We had the list already published and we're coming back to it. In the course of the program, we also have Constitutional Council, 5 years already. The organ that went operational on February 7, 2018 with the appointment of its president and members has over the years handled multiple complaints with diverse outcomes. Its proceedings through the different elections leave some with a feeling of satisfaction and others a view that the body could do better. The focus of that story, if you missed out on it, is on the focus of from page 7 to page 9. If you could just have Cameroon Tribune, of course, of Tuesday, February 7. The next newspaper is L'Économie quotidienne of Tuesday, February 7 again, which comes back to the increase of the prices of fuel at filling stations. It says les transporteurs veulent une augmentation du coût de déplacement. Of course, remember that the trade unionists sent out a communique in which they are suggesting to the government to increase the price of taxi fare in the urban setting from 250 francs to 300 francs during the day and to 350 francs in the night. As at now, the government is yet to make an official pronouncement on that price increase. Well, the next newspaper is Cameroon Tribune, the bilingual daily of Wednesday, the 8th of February, and it comes with, of course, the final list of candidates sénatoriales 2023. Voici les candidats. 22 listes validées par l'ECAM, 10 listes réjectées. Le RDPC, seul parti politique à concourir dans les 10 régions. Lire l'intégralité des candidatures publiées par le Conseil électoral d'Elections Cameroon. You missed out on the story, then you can have a copy of Cameroon Tribune of Wednesday and read from page 7 to page 10. Of course, it also mentions the urban and interurban transport. The tariff await renew. The next newspaper is Le Messager, which comes back to Raphaël Martinez-Zogo, l'anecdote d'un coup de filet. It has, of course, the boss of the group and his two close aides who were arrested. But of course, Le Messager of that same day also has talks about fiscal reforms, les bonnes affaires du télépaiement. You know, those who are into fiscal matters will be happy that they can definitely pay their taxes through mobile operations. The next newspaper is the Guardian Post, which comes back to the great loss that was recorded in the media landscape this week. It is the passing away of one of our English language media landscape biggest guru, media guru Chief Zongandembu, who bowed out this week. He was, of course, the big man of the Eden Media Group, CEO, and of course the pace setter for many young journalists, especially those of the print media and even those of the audio visual landscape, who passed through the hands of Chief Zaché. But the Guardian Post of this same day also talks about the senatorial elections, which says new faces emerged in Northwest CPDM list, while Southwest maintains all guards, Elekam validates 22 lists and rejects 10. Then the next newspaper on the review is L'Info Show, which comes back to David Ebutu, Paul Biana, pas d'amis ni de protégés. We find that on page 2 of L'Info Show, which also highlights on the affaire Martinez-Zogo, le SNJC maintient la pression. Definitely on page 3 of that L'Info Show, you can have details of what the SNJC is, how much pressure the SNJC is mounting on the authorities that be to have some light shed on the assassination of Martinez-Zogo. The next newspaper we are reviewing is Cameroon Tribune, and it comes back to the different candidates to the senatorial elections. You have the faces. Who are they? Have a wonderful review of the different candidates from page 4 to 7 of Cameroon Tribune of Thursday. That's yesterday, February the 9. You can have an insight of those candidates from page 4 to 7 of Cameroon Tribune. Now, the paper also talks about minimum wage, government's proposal endorsed. We remember that representatives of workers' unions met with the Minister of Labour and Social Security on February the 8th in the 24th consultative session of the Labour Advisory Board and approved the amount of 41,875 francs CFA reviewed from governments. You can find it on page 16 and 17 of Cameroon Tribune of Thursday, the 9th of February 2023. Next newspaper on the review is Mutation, and Mutation comes back to urban and interurban transport and headlines au prix du dilatoire. It's true that the taxi drivers are still calling on the government to make official the increase, while some already are increasing their own prices according to their whims and caprices. But then we also have on Mutation a bit of sports. Coupe du Monde transfer, Vincent Aboubakar parle. If you want to have an insight of that story, go to page 11 of Mutation newspaper. The next newspaper we are going to have is Municipal Updates of today, Friday the 10th of February 2022. Municipal Updates of Cham Victor Bama says BIA to unveil special youth priorities today. For those who know that on every 10th of February, the head of state, father of the nation, speaks to the youth tonight at 8 p.m. And still on the municipal updates of today, it talks about Us Meeting Youth, Making a Difference, have an insight of this use on page 4 of Municipal Updates. Meantime, it continues talking about Kumba Ekonotiti Road. Ekonotiti population salutes completion of first phase. The tarring is expected to begin soon. That's the Kumba Ekonotiti Road. For those who have traveled that road, you know how challenging it can be to go through, especially in the rainy season. With the tarring to begin soon, the population can only heave a sigh of relief. Next newspaper on our stand, it's a rich one, is The Horizon, which talks about this 2028, of course, senatorial elections, why the Northwest and Southwest chiefs should be bad. Well, you can have a full part of that story on page 10 of the Horizon newspaper. But the newspaper also talks about 18 cohabitating military officers who bid an end to Kamo State. That should definitely be on a lighter mood. And it will definitely put an end to our stroll in the different newspaper kiosks today. It was very interesting and very rich. Now all you have to do is to go to the kiosk, get yourself some of the papers. It's 400 francs, and help the written press to survive. It's very important that they sell their papers and be autonomous and not be bought away and their conscience is bought because they don't have money in their pockets. Gentlemen, we are back from the kiosks. Any story caught your attention, Lambert?
The municipal updates talking about the head of states unveiling some latest updates as far as youths are concerned. I don't want to say anything because the head of state is still awaited to say, to address the youth. We expect just more from him, just like Oliver Twist. Even if you give him 90%, he will ask for 110%. So without saying anything concerning that, I will expect, but that's a very good caption from municipal updates. And equally, you want to talk about the mutation equally touch of the fare in taxi, taxi fare, the increment. Well, for those who think that the 5.2% is anything, they may see that it is somehow, but to me, the 5.2% increment of salaries is just, in fact, beating the child from the right and holding from the left so that the child cannot escape from the house. Because there's one thing with these children of nowadays, when you beat them the way I to say want to kill a snake, you will find them all around the city and you will never find them if care is not taken. And equally, I equally noticed that the Cameroon Tribune is talking about the taxi fare equally, meaning that, and the ban in the seated transportation, electronic transportation that we have been using, the transportation, I want to call their name so that it cannot be like, it should not be like
publicity.
I want to publicize them. Yes, to a certain extent, it's like taxis were angry with them because they were extremely very cheap. Since I installed the app on my phone, I've been using them. So I don't think that it's a negotiation between them and the Minister of Transport so that they can regulate their papers.
Yep.
And they have to function because the world is going digital. And if we keep dragging legs and thinking that you will start San Fran Lonkak than TV, somebody just passed San Fran. You just need to get up, type, after dressing well, you type down Carousel Cam this. The guy just drive to your door and you are gone. So rather than standing on the road and waiting for the next 5 hours, 2 hours, San Lonkak, somebody they don't even care. So we thought they were coming like a relief to some of us who are always on the move.
Maybe in the state of law, they have to respect the regulations
Definitely,
in place and have their papers.
I'm encouraging them to regularize their papers so that we start functioning the way we have been
Correct.
functioning.
Franklin Wanchin, what got your attention in the papers?
The first thing that caught my attention was what L'Info Asho said about a Black Monday in Yaoundé, the arresting of the boss of Anecdote. We know many things have happened just of recent.
Well, since it is a case which is in court, we can't talk about when it is in court.
Yes, I don't want to.
We could just let go the topic so that we go to some other thing.
Yeah.
We can't say anything while the case is ongoing.
I just wish to appreciate the military for doing. Can I say the government for trying to do their work, because Cameroonians have been crying.
That the government is not working.
I think it's a positive
so this is a positive move to see that the government listens to the people and
they listen to the people, and at least they are trying to do something that we are looking for. And I pray that other crimes should also be unraveled, so that no one should go scot-free.
That's
also,
right.
In the Garden Post, I also saw the passing away of Chief Zaki.
Oh yeah.
I think it's really a sad case to the media family, and I wish his family, they should hold hard. He was not only their father, he was the father of many. I know many friends who have passed through him, and they always say, no, he's to me like a father. So I understand what my friends and I have lost. May he rest in peace, and I think God should bless his family to take it calm. It's
Definitely.
not easy.
Yeah, losing a loved one can never be easy, especially with knowing that he went through a lot of pain in his illness before passing on. Yeah, may his soul rest in peace. Ernest Akufo, we strode through the kiosk. It was a long stroll.
Yes, as usual, you know, for the past weeks, the newspaper stand has been too full with a lot of information. Like we just scrolled through there was too much talk of well, the famous case which is pending in court, the youths who are celebrating tomorrow, and the senatorial elections, of course, with the publication of the list of candidates who are to vie for positions. I think the papers are just too rich in the when I would have very much focused on the one on senatorial elections. I think that's Cameroon Tribune, who made public the list of candidates, and we see that from that list we see that 2 regions already have we can say their candidates elected. I think it will be needless going in for elections there again. I want to think of the South and the Southwest region. You see, the candidates can already start jubilating because they don't have a contender. They don't have anybody opposite them, the opposite number to fight against them. Yes,
and that's one of our topics. But I don't know, gentlemen, when we were coming, did you notice or have you witnessed any change in the price of taxi fare? Have you had any driver insist that you pay 300?
Well, as for the taxi fare, you see, the minister held a meeting with the stakeholders, the various trade unions, be they public transportation and the inter-urban transportation, and some decisions were arrived at. Well, we don't know whether they are already in execution or they have to wait for them to be to go under which process. I don't know, but nevertheless, some taxi cab drivers are on it, and I want to say they don't have the tariffs yet, which are stipulating that the fare is 300 within the day and 350 at night, and negotiations could occur between the cab driver and the client. So it's just a make-do situation. People are just managing it up. Meanwhile, the motorbikers, the bikers, when you meet them, they'll try to convince you vous savez que les prix ont augmenté, but it just needs an understanding between the two. Yes, just a discussion. You just try to convince him, because in effect, you see, with the hike in fuel prices, the consequences will be borne by the consumer, be it those who take the cab, be it those who are going to the market, be it at every sector, it will be borne by the consumer of goods and services, because it will have to play on those consumers. We see those are economic theorems which maybe economics could better understand, but I know from my own small perspective that when there's the increase in the prices of fuel, because it is a turning point in every economy. Yes, you can't leave your house without it. Even if you have your car, you can't go without it. Farm to market roads, people transporting food, they must use it. They'll tax the women for a small bunch of plantain. You pay me 500 and all the like. We just hope that the apparent increase. Well, let me call it apparent, although the government has announced it, of 5.2% on the basic salary. I want to ask you, how many civil servants do we have in Cameroon?
That's the first question.
Yes, because when the government gets out and begin to make it some sort of propaganda, I begin to ask myself, 300 civil servants in Cameroon amounts a population of 30 million people. You increase the prices of fuel, and then you say you've increased the price, the salary by 5.2%. Okay, if you take 5.2% of the highest civil servant in Cameroon are the A2, which are on basically 100. Well, I don't know. Let me not get into all those details.
Around 130.
Yes. So when you get there, 5% of that amount is how much? It's grossly insignificant. So there should be no blowing of hot air that there are salary increases. The impact will be borne by non-civil servants. Even the civil servants, they may bear the impact, which may not be as heavy as those who, the downtrodden people. So all of that, government knows what it is playing around. Well, they will say they haven't increased the prices of kerosene, which is mostly used in a household.
And cooking gas.
And cooking gas. They'll try to justify it that way.
Constant.
Well, but...
and also the SMIC was increased to 41,875.
When you want to talk about SMIC.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are on the papers, only on CAMDIS television, the Republican television. We are going to have our first topic of discussion for this afternoon. It's 2023 senatorial elections. The race is on. Of course, we know that the Elections Management Body of the country, ElecCam, made publish the list of 22 candidates who are going in, or 22 lists, of course, from 13 political parties, who will be running for this year's senatorial elections on March the 12th. 10 lists were rejected, amongst them GDC, whose president was supposed to be here and is not here, Andre Marie Dibamu. He was supposed to be with us, but he's running around because he says other things about youth day. Let us not say here on air. So his list was rejected. That of the SDF in a region was rejected, and then the UPC lists were really rejected because of one political party sending in 2 lists in the same constituency as usual with the UPC. But remarkably enough, we have the CPDM, which is running in all 10 regions of the country. We have the SDF running in just one region of the country, in the Northwest region. The Adamawa, of course, really has stiff competition with about 4 parties. We have lots of candidates, new faces coming in on the CPDM lists in the Northwest, but in the South, of course, they maintain the same lists. I don't know, gentlemen, let me begin from you, Franklin. How do you appreciate ElecCam's decisions? How do you appreciate the lists that were accepted by ElecCam?
Well, looking to the lists that were accepted and those rejected, and from the comments made by the politicians themselves, I appreciate ElecCam very much, because I've not heard any of the politicians, especially those that their lists were rejected, complain. They have not given a complaint like ElecCam did this or that. Okay. Because I recall the rejected list was sent out for UPC. The Secretary General of UPC said that the list was not rejected because of the list, but because that the problem is right from UPC. Meaning he recognized that the party had a problem before the rejection. And when you look like in the Adamawa where the SDF list was rejected, also look keenly there what is happening. Even back home in the Northwest, where we know that is a stronghold of SDF. Yeah. SDF nearly managed. I'm even sure that there's a paper that reported that SDF is standing for elections at the mercy of CPDM.
Yeah, that's on the...
So when you see things coming like that, you realize that at least ElecCam was doing its job. It was at the level of the parties, of the political parties, that maybe they did not do what they had to do. And when you look into a place now like the South and the Southwest, where CPDM stood there so tall with no one to oppose them, I think it is still time to blame the other political parties. Why are they not functioning in these regions? But before I go out of this, somebody from the UPC ever told me openly, it's not up to a week, that we are going down to the South to go and make a campaign to see whether they can have a list in the South. But they were blocked by a top official himself not being sent. And Mengong is Mengong is the welcome town of the South region from Yaoundé. Mengong is the first town where you stop. He said when they arrived Mengong, the man told them very clearly that le Sud c'est pour le RDPC.
Wow.
So what I want to make it very clear is, no matter how far ElecCam is working, other political parties should also give others the room to exercise their political know-how. Because one thing we always say is that there's one old statement that my grandfather used to say, you cannot run a race alone and become first.
Yeah.
So they should also give room for those political parties to come in. Let's see how our political life in the country is growing. When you block others by claiming that this region belongs to this particular political party, it is not more what we call democracy. I don't think that is democracy. Because if we are claiming to be democratic, we should allow people.
They should work harder and get there. In their Adamawa, they didn't just say that, no, it belongs to the NUDP party. There are other parties that are vying for senatorial seats there. So they should work hard and just find their way into these regions. I don't think that any region is somebody's owned property as yet. If not, we'll have said that the SDF will automatically have Northwest, South, and West region. But now look at it; it is not anybody's chasse gardée, as they say in French. Yes.
Until you visit some regions, you will not understand what I'm telling you. When you visit them, you will see what is happening.
It's Cameroon, it's politics. Politics has its realities. Lambert, how did you appreciate the list of senatorial candidates so far?
You know, politics in Cameroon is a do or a die. And especially in Kumbu, where I'm coming from, it is politics of hate. That's why I want to say, I don't want to start by saying that Elekam did this. In fact, if they know that they are working within their internal rules and regulations, if I thought they are really transparent, let me not judge Elekam. You have to understand that all these opposition politics, sometimes I want to blame the CPM, and on the contrary, I see myself not having the right to blame the CPM, because Elekam is appointed by one person. The CPM is the main regime in power. Away from the main regime in power, which is manned by the CPDM, the various political parties, their own internal wranglings are more than what you can expect.
Okay.
They're fighting in the West region every day. They fight. You see, if it is that these opposition political parties are not going in, or they didn't have their personal interest, they could have emerged to come up as one party so that they can defeat the CPDM. But it's very, very difficult, because everybody is man for himself, which is what is, in fact, he has killed them. I was very surprised to see that a whole Bui. Do you know that I don't even know my senator? So when they say senatorial election, I'm not confused. I don't know the senator for Bui. I saw him once in a picture. In a picture, yes.
So you have never met your senator?
I don't know the senators. So we need people. When they say senator, what does it mean? You get to the root. See your people. Tell them that if you people put me here, this is what I'm going to do. Because that's politics. You put me in here, I will do this. And make sure that you do it at least more than 50% during your mandate. But at the end of the day, they are just confusing the local population, and we are helpless. Because if you even lie people in Buida, they will vote. I wonder. That's why I say I doubt the credibility of all these opposition political parties in particular, because they are not one. They have refused to. Joshua also does not want to work with Nenche. Nenche does not want to work with the SD, and that's the second. At the end of the day, there's a mix-up, and the CPDM is getting an advantage, because after all, it is their party, it is their country. Because I want to say a country of CPDM, because all these ministers from private secretary generals and ministers, they are appointed by the chief of the CPDM. So what do you expect? That they don't win? Well, that they colonize the whole thing?
It depends on the manifesto that is being sold to the people. Now, Ernest Akufo, we know that senatorial elections are through indirect universal suffrage, meaning that the councillors that we voted that are now going to vote on our behalf. Looking at the dispensation so far, the SDF in just the Northwest region, the CPDM that carries forward its list of last legislative year into this new one, and then how do you look at it? Can we hope to see a really mixed upper house of parliament in the next legislature?
I'll say far from that, because you know, there's a lot of demagoguery in politics. So some tabloid did write about the rapprochement between the SDF and the CPDM. You know, I read the papers between the line, and I follow the political atmosphere in the country between the lines. In the last legislature, where the SDF had 7 members of parliament, 7 senators elected, you begin to doubt how it came about, because by then we were already in the war situation. Yes, and it happened as it happened. I hope you understand.
It happened as it happened.
Yes, it happens as it happened. And now too, it is going to happen as it's going to happen. Because the party in power apparently wants to use the major political opposition party like a spice in her pudding. You see, when you eat pudding where it is not spice, it doesn't sound well, right?
Yeah, it does not go well in the mouth.
Yeah, the mouth doesn't water well. The saliva doesn't come well. But so I want to believe. I'm procrastinating. Yes, I'm foreseeing what will happen, because don't hear that there are about 13 political parties. What is their political weight?
Yeah.
The geopolitics in this country is clear, and you see the infighting that happened already in the southwest region, for
the list to be
for the list between I don't call people's names here.
Yeah, we shouldn't call
so
their names.
when you saw it, you begin to see that politics is a game of interest, and where there is no interest, there is no action. So when you saw the people, they were doing their infighting, everybody wanted his or her candidate to be positioned for obvious reasons. So when you look at the situation in the southwest and the south region, it tells you all that you see, that's one of the reasons why you have voter apathy in this country, because election results are known beforehand, and you find it inconsequential whether you vote or you don't vote. It doesn't make any change. But I want to say, if really we were in a genuine democracy, whereas I want to call it that it's not genuine, because what makes it that other parties or political party leaders can't get into certain regions? Why is it that?
Can they not just work? Is it like that? Maybe they're not working hard enough. Maybe they're not having the right agenda. They're not selling the right manifesto to the people.
Promise.
Are they really pushing to those regions?
Far from being a manifesto. Far from being a manifesto, because the political landscape in Cameroon is cramped. I hope you understand. It's cramped in the sense that the CPDM is implanted everywhere in this nation. Not because they are too powerful to get implanted there, but it is because through peer influence. Once you are appointed like a bureau chief to work for this government, automatically you sing the song. And you must take it right to the nook and cranny from where you come. But the other parties, since I told you politics is a game of interest, the other parties are off. You want to hoax and coax people to join your party. They begin to say, what are the fallbacks? Yes. So you see, when that type of mentality comes, people are a little reticent. Except, like you see, even in the base of the Social Democratic Front, which is the Northwest, the birthplace of that party, its own backyard, it is still suffering setbacks. Yes, it's suffering setbacks. Because apparently the people have lost touch with politics.
And so probably that explains why the ACF is only going in for one region for this materials.
Even in that region, are you too sure about it?
Because
you have the CPDM bigwigs too, who are there. The CPDM bigwigs are there. When I scrolled through the list, I saw bigwigs of the CPDM. Well, I don't want to be making their cheap publicity.
Well, for those who haven't yet seen the list of candidates validated by Elecam, in the East region, we have the CPDM and UNDP that are running for seats in that region for senatorialship. In the Far North region, there is the ANDP and the CPDM. In the North region, there are 3 parties in the North. Wow, the FSNC, CPDM, and UNDP. The Northwest, as we were seeing earlier on, we have CPDM and SDF to run for seats. In the Adamawa, the CPDM and NUDP. In the center, the FDC and the CPDM. In the far north, we have, of course, it continues with the NUDP and the MDR. In the littoral, it has the CPDM and PCRN to run for senatorship. The West region has 3 parties: the CPDM, the UDC, and the UMS. In the south, of course, we have the CPDM, and in the southwest, the CPDM.
Promise, I want to chip in something there. For the mere fact that the law stipulates that the President of the Republic has the right to appoint 30 out of the 100 senators, it is already pulling the blanket towards the party in power.
Why would you think that the President will want to work with opposition parties by appointing some of the senators from opposition parties?
Well, I want to say in the government,
he brought in democracy.
In the government, you see that there are some opposition party leaders, but they belong to the presidential majority, which implies that they buy the ideology of the ruling party, because you can't ally with somebody when you don't buy his ideology. Yes, impossible.
Well, probably being inside to fight from inside, so they can fight better. You know, at times they say fighting from inside makes you fight better. You know, being an opposition in the presidential majority can probably help you push through some ideas. Like, I would suggest that we should do it this way instead of doing it this
some
way.
of the examples of those ideas that people have come
Are you really
bringing up, and it's yielding some
I'm
fruits?
just saying that some of these people who belong to...
We have seen some of these political opposition leaders who are in the government. Whenever they are talking, they praise the government. They raise the name of the head of state ahead, which means they are also supporting his ideologies and policies. There's nothing they can propose.
I remember,
There's nothing they can propose.
take note that they are, like Eddie Akufo did say it clearly, they are talking in respect to what they will have as fallout. So you don't expect you to bite the finger that is feeding you. It's a pity. So you definitely want to clap hands.
It's not
and
a show of
it is
biting
working
the
very
finger.
well,
I
because
think that it is
I don't
about...
see the center region is a very, very big region. It cannot just be CPDM part 2. It's not possible.
There are 2 parties running,
Which are very, very insignificant.
When I look at the opposing party,
they are figureheads. They are
it can't stand the weight.
insignificant.
It can't
That
stand
is
the
it.
weight.
They are just there like they want to be there.
Figureheads.
And
There are
nothing will happen.
Most of these opposition
See,
parties
look at
Do you know that you can be appointed as the Secretary General in the presidency and you have no work? Meanwhile, there's somebody doing the work somewhere.
The central region has
That is a
at
fact.
least 2 parties. Look at the south; it's just the
They are
CPDM.
just there.
The far north has 4 political parties going in.
What
for
are they doing?
senatorials.
The
They are going
people
for
in the
senatorials.
NASA, in fact, the people in Kolofata, do they even know their senator? As I'm saying, I don't know my senator here. Do they know their senator?
Yours isn't better like
They are
that.
just
Yours
there,
told
and
you
all
on the
those
picture.
people you are
I've not heard
surprised
about the man.
their offices they are living here in Yaoundé, very comfortable in the east within the framework of their high life.
So
type of
they
thing.
don't go back to the grassroots to check out on the population.
Have you ever seen since 2016?
Promise, frankly speaking, as he's saying, as Lambert is saying, I don't know my senators apart from my friend who unfortunately was assassinated.
Oh, Barrister Kimende.
Yeah, Barrister Kimende. That's the lone one I knew because he was close to me. We knew each other. We would share. That's the lone one I knew. Even my parliamentarians. Yes.
Yeah, of your constituency.
You don't.
We don't
That's
know
that
them.
of my constituency. We don't feel him there.
Ha!
They are all resident in their own day. Yes.
But inside the provisions of the law for candidates to vie, for people to vie for candidates, you should be resident in the constituency for which you're running as.
It
either
is a
senator
law.
or-
Practically
or
on the field is a
MNA.
different thing. Remember, what people go and study in school, a promise, is completely different thing from what they see in the field. Have you ever been instructed that it's only CRTV that will be asking questions after a seminar? What does that mean? That is the case. So you want to... I expected that. I know the terrain is very difficult. Well understood now, since 2016. Let the senators or the parliamentarian organize us here in Yaoundé as IDPs and talk to us that, please, I want to introduce myself to you people. It is not because they want to call us and give us money. What type of money can they give us?
Now, senators from the Northwest, Southwest, and even from the West regions, call your people to know you. The outgoing, at least your mandate is here ongoing. Just try your best to, make yourselves known. And for those who are vying...
Promise, is that not too late?
It's
too late.
Okay, those who are vying for the post of senators, come March 12th, let your people know you. This is Ernest Akofo. He's from the Northwest. Lambert Kevin is also from the Northwest. Try to make them know you early enough. We know that the SDF list, we can look through the names to see those who are on that list, the CPDM list. As for those from the Southwest, you know that Senator Mbilamoki and all his friends on the same list have been reconducted, and we found celebrating before the elections. But of course, let us talk about the fact that people need to know you so that they can give you their grievances. You may also say that your hands are tied. Probably the laws come to you already, but just the fact that you can at least debate. I'm putting in quotes. You can at least debate.
You see, those are some of the things.
Come to your people,
which make people have foregone conclusions about elections in Cameroon. Look at a region like the Southwest region. You mean to tell me the 7 senators who were elected last year
in 2013? Sir.
Yes,
because they are still
2 mandates.
They have not changed.
You want to tell me that between 2013 till now, they are performant.
9 years.
Nobody,
years.
there is nobody who can at least get up to say, okay, I can do better.
No, the party studied their output and saw
Jesus said they should allow children to come to them. You understand? But the way, the procedure to take to see a senator, let me tell you that I've attempted. It is as horrible as when you want to go to hell.
So you didn't see your senator?
No, I have been struggling to know because I am a media man. Take note. And I always like to follow up and have an in-depth and in fact have everything so as to do a good report. But at the end of the day, you want to even struggle to call your senator. From the numbers they give you, by day you think that they have the number. You want to get to them. It is difficult. So at the end of the day, you are just lost. If we can know them, they will know what to do. And remember, I cannot go to Kumbu to go and vote. You know the way things are.
You are a councillor, so you are not voting. But of course, those you voted as councillors down there in Kumbu will vote.
Very soon, their own election will be coming up.
It's coming up very soon.
Can we go to Kumbu?
Well, let's wait for the time to come. Let's leave.
Around 80% of those
I just hope so.
I'm more cars to carry us to go and vote. Listen, next we are going to the next topic of discussion on this program. You are watching the papers on this television, the Republican television. We accompany state institutions in building Cameroon and to give a good image of Cameroon in the outer world. It's not all black. Example, the youth of Cameroon will tomorrow, February 11, be celebrating the 57th edition of the National Youth Day, when they will come together in all pomp and fanfare, sing patriotic songs, march with acute, powerful steps, and determined to be leaders of tomorrow, as we are told. Now, we are at the 57th edition of the National Youth Day. What is the place of the youth in Cameroon? Kevin.
The place.
What is the place of the youth in Cameroon?
The place of the youth in Cameroon.
You are a youth.
Thank God that you are asking an answer because equally you are a youth. I doubt the place in so many ways, but I would not like to because there's no time. We are on TV. We can't elaborate everything. The youths. Sometimes I got a certain expression that youth in Cameroon are a state of mind. When those type of things they come up, what does that mean? When they say youth, I know youth equally they are a problem to themselves. Do
you have a bracket we call youth? Is there any age bracket
yes.
for youth?
In principle, according to UNESCO norms.
Yes.
What's the age bracket for according to UNESCO norms? Because to us it is a state of mind. That being a youth is how you feel and how you think. So is there a particular age bracket?
When you want to say,
some say it's from 15 to 35 years.
The person who made this statement, life begins at 40. was not a fool.
Yes.
When you begin that life, you are beginning at 40 means another stage of life. So if you are above 40, to me, you are no more youth.
You're not a youth.
Hey.
Between 30 and 40, you are a senior youth.
Yes, from 40
That's
below.
where you train yourself to get now into the
So very soon
into
I'll no
another
longer
stage.
be a youth.
Yes,
Yes.
and
I'm
let me
not
tell you
a
that youths have no place in this country. One, they are the problem to themselves because some youths in Cameroon they always wait for things to happen and they say, after all, I am waiting for an appointment. I have gone so far. I am well educated.
I also have a matric.
I don't have what to do. This is my matric. This is blah blah blah. Youth in Cameroon should be proactive.
Coming from you with
I
knowing
escaped
how
that from
dynamic
where
you
now
are.
I'm completely doing a different thing.
Okay.
And I'm doing it very well. Even if nobody says they're doing it very well, I'm doing very well.
Begin by appreciating yourself. If you don't do it, who will? You
That is
have
it.
to appreciate yourself.
If I can do it like that and you sit there and say, this is my KPM, if they don't recruit, if they don't, forget about that. If people have decided that they will not leave the chair, will you kill yourself because somebody have decided that you should die? No.
Remember that they always ask you that.
You are the one killing yourself.
You should
don't
not ask
blame people for your misfortune.
You should not say that what
Yes.
has my country done for me? What
And
have I done for my country?
equally, I would love that the people who are already tired should take notes and give us way. Let us try so that they should be like our technical advisors. It's not that we are pushing them apart. We're not pushing them away. The best thing for an elderly person to do is to advise the child from the background. That's the best way. Sometimes when we talk like this, people say, well, you are using raw language. What is raw language when you want to say things the right way? What is the raw language? You know, there are people who are tired and know very well that they are tired. When somebody is 60 and still very active in public service, that is an abuse to the youth.
I thought it was 65.
When somebody, I'm talking about, because some people are 60. Let me tell you that they cannot move, they cannot write well. It is their secretaries that are doing the job.
60 on paper or 60 not really.
60 on paper.
Okay. Franklin Wanchin, you're also a youth. Or anyway, as now you're still a youth because your mind says you're a youth. What's the place of the youth in Cameroon today? Can we sit back and say, okay, in a few years, this youth will take over Cameroon, they'll have built their houses and, you know, establish themselves and are set to take over Cameroon of tomorrow?
The position of a young person in Cameroon nowadays is that position where I would want to finish my A-levels, half-year's degree, and fly.
Okay.
Go to the airport. If there are 10 people traveling out of Cameroon, 9 are youth, and the only old man that is there is going for treatment.
Ola.
So they have made us to understand that as a youth in Cameroon, your place is out there. Bet with me, how many of your friends are out? A handful of them. Because back here in Cameroon, when a youth, someone like me, I've tried in so many places. I must not always work with the government to eat, but I've tried so many businesses. A young person trying to do a small call box by the roadside or a food retailer, what we call by and sell them, the taxes that they bring in for you to pay are even 2 or 3 times higher than your capital. They make life very difficult for you to live in your own country. They make everything very tense for you. The moment you are trying to write a petition somewhere, they say, "Ce sont les jeunes, ils vont déranger." These are things that we have seen, and when we are talking about it, where will you end up? They start moving behind you and telling you funny things. What betide any young person who has an original idea of change and they soup you into a political party? You are finished.
Oh, really? But
you are finished.
Should you not belong to a political party?
We can belong to a political party, but when you are going to for partisan politics, know what you are standing in for. Maintain your truth. If you go in to follow what those old people are doing, forget, your dreams are killed. I know many of them. But now you only see that the only young man who can only progress is he that struggles, and at the tail end, he's out of this country, he goes and comes back. That's the one that is progressing. You talked about us building the nation. We know to build a nation, you have to build your own house first. Charity begins at home. Where is the land? You are going back, your uncle who had money, very well has bought everything is under him. You go back to the villages, rich people have come in, and they have even, your poor uncles who are there, they have bought the land from them.
And you're working in the private sector where your salary is different at 41.
No, you go to the private sector. Thank you. You are talking something I was about to go there. Most of us are in the private sector. Our basic salary is 41,000 francs. How much is our house rent?
For example.
They go and increase the salary of 300,000 Cameroonians out of 30 million Cameroonians by an insignificant 5.2%. And it is being read over every media is shouting.
It was aired on state media. Well,
how can
but you are youth, as you said.
There's still a young person out there who is trying to feed a family. I mean, maybe he is the one, which is one love wife and 2 kids, regional brothers and sisters who are IDPs.
And
He's doing
in-laws.
Okada. They have increased the price, the petrol 15.7%. His salary has not increased. He's struggling for 50 francs to be increased as transport fare. Yet, even if it is being increased, how much is he buying a kilogram of rice to feed around 7 Cameroonians?
And take note, all these bikers, they don't fly all over Yaoundé. There are some no-go zones.
No-go zones.
Yes, which is very difficult.
Meaning that even the money that they're supposed to work at the
Take
end
note
of the day
that
reduces.
I've been in the bush in a committee. I have tried to establish a farm there. In fact, the inputs, the amount of, the way you can struggle to get the input, what you get as output is not, it will never be compared to the input. You just put everything in the farm, at the end of the day, you have nothing. Imagine putting in 1 million, at the end of the day, you have harvest means and sell it for 400 something thousand francs.
You are at a loss, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you are. Now, Ernest Akofo, you are, I'm trying not to say that you're a youth as well, so let me just say that
state of mind.
you. Let's talk about the generational transition, because that's what is most talked about right now, generational transition. Do you think that in two ways? One, do you think that one, the youths are prepared to take over smoothly, and two, are those of the other generation ready to hold the hands of the youth to move with them and transition very smoothly?
Promise, I want to say that question sounds too interesting and a little complicated, because it's a two-way traffic.
Yeah, it is.
Two-way traffic in the sense that in as much as the old order is refusing to yield to leave place to the young are getting more decadent and irresponsible. Why? Because children copy from parents, right? The youths copied from the parents, the decadent, the immorality. Look at the theme of the Youth Day, which will be celebrated tomorrow. It's talking about moral, civic, disarmament, and for a united Cameroon. When you look at the theme, it's all telling. When they talk of civic behavior, when they talk of morals, it means that there is something wrong with all of those key words which have been put in that theme. They are not put there for nothing. The youths are, there is a lot of moral decadency there's deviances in our community, especially from the youth. Look at the ones in school. You see how they are treating their teachers. You see how they are treating their fellow schoolmates. So I want to say it's pretty difficult a situation. You see, the older people are ebbing out. There is an apparent vacuum, and that's why you see them clinging onto power, the old generation clinging onto power, because that vacuum isn't, there is nothing that covers it yet. Because if the youth, the majority of the youth were responsible, because my co-panelists did talk about many of the youths falling bush. Yes, go to the embassies. Every day the embassies are flooded. Children looking for visas to travel abroad, because the youth have lost hope. Yes, they don't see anything. Do you know how much people pay to go into the School of Administration? I don't want to say that here. Yes, and you won't. Every time there is an entrance exam there is always some wahala. Yes, because there is the tussle. The big wigs are fighting. No, my child must get in. Do you know how much they pay to get into the School of Education? Do you know how much they pay to get into the School of Medicines? Now, when you look at all of those things, how can you, where do the youth have the confidence? Where do they have the courage? Where do they have, they were talking about farm. Lambert is, I like his courage because he's into many things. Yes, I must give him a pat on the back because he's into many things. An
example of an industrial
youth. He's a prototype of a youth, I must say it. He's into many things and fighting tooth and nail to see that he succeeds. Because he doesn't want civil service jobs. Because he doesn't want to be a defeatist. Many of his generation have flown out of this country. But he is there, he is courageous, he comes here to share the problems of the youth. You see, all of that, it demands a lot of courage. Because when they go out there, when you ask them, what about Cameroon? Oh, Cameroon? Damn shit place.
That's
so
why
when you see some of us who are still back here, it's because we are patriotic, right? Yes, we are patriotic. We love our country.
We love our country, Cameroon.
You ask, some people will say, oh, but what's the country doing for you? I did rather ask, what am I doing for the country? Yeah, because my small contribution would go to contribute to build this nation to be strong. And for this nation to be strong, we don't need strong people, promise.
That's right.
We need strong institutions.
Rearmament.
Yeah, because if we think that, since the president said Cameroon will be an emerging nation by 2035, if we think that by 2035 we will have strong men in this nation, I mean strong, I don't know what that strong means. Strong men in this country, it's a tale, it's a fallacy. Rather, between now and 2035, we should have an industrial Cameroon.
Right, industrial.
A transformational Cameroon.
Great. The theme of this year's edition of National Youth Day is Youth, Moral, Civic and Entrepreneurship Rearmament, a guarantee for discipline in building a united and prosperous Cameroon.
When the theme talks about entrepreneur, you see, create the enabling environments for the youth to put up their businesses. Go to the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Civic Education. You had the projects there, the Paget and all the like. They've died.
Yes, yeah.
Because it was, who are you before they can accord you 5 million?
That's it.
I'm talking what I know. I'm not talking what I don't know.
Exactly.
The Paget, the PIFMAS, they all failed because people capitalized, people individualized it, and used it for political motives. Look at the triennial program of 103 billions with the head of state. Well, some people will say it's because you can't mount a file. No, sir. It's the same bottleneck thing. Yes, and that's what is killing the country. How do you let the youths have the hope?
All right.
Create the enabling environment for them. And most often, when some of them are setting on projects, it takes time for the finances to come. So much so that before the finances come, the hope is gone. And when they get the small finances, off they are gone.
The fall bush.
Yes, the fall bush. And then they will say the youths are irresponsible. Yes, they are irresponsible because you make them. Do you know something? Most of the youths are made to wallow in poverty. So much so that when you brandish the crumbs, they jump over it.
So they can,
that is it.
So they do it intentionally to manipulate the
Yes.
You know, I have a friend who is working for a private media, and a friend, he always tells me that, Lambert, I'm a critic, but let me tell you that I'm struggling like this. If the government can recruit me, I'll be off because I just want to make money for myself. When you get those statements, you want to take note that they are very tired. Let me tell you that we are managing businesses here in Yaoundé, and at the end of the day, the number of controls that I receive a day, they cannot be less than 5. I ask myself, 3 controls cannot come in from a particular ministry. There's the Ministry of Public Health, there's Ministry of Mines, there's ministry, the other ministries. And they're claiming that since they're Yaoundé, is from the ministry. I want to think that there's a different delegation that is manning Fundi or yes, something like that. And at the end of the day, you want to receive somebody who's claiming that he's from the Ministry of Public Health, and the person is not even willing to express himself very well to you. He comes in well responsible. You want to say yes, you are the one. You want to ask, can you present yourself very well? In respect that, at least show me something, an authorization, let me see how to attend to you. Yep. The person starts saying that, no, says, comme ça, vous les anglophones. That statement like that, it brings back a lot of so many problems. And people are so used to making those statements in Yaoundé, as if to say
even out of context, because the issue is when you come to control someone, you should, as an institution, present yourself and let it be a two-way dialogue. It's not like you're coming to suppress
there was an issue,
the person.
There was an issue. I don't want to call the name of the ministry. Somebody came in as a control. There were 3 of them with a gendarme officer.
Okay.
I asked a simple question, Madam, welcome. Yes, can I have your letter of authorization to do this control? Yes, because they claim that there's a consumer protection right, blah, blah, blah. They will have to search, forgetting that the imported sugar that we are buying at a cheaper rate, the sugar from Susuka is as expensive as something that I cannot know how to define.
The price of sugar has really gone up.
Yes.
Like the price of wheat
We used
flour,
to buy
of course, like
sugar
any
for
other
25,000 a bag of 50 kilograms. Now it is 38,000 as two paper acheté, il faut laisser. You don't understand those things. So now
Exactly.
the person came in. I say, my friend, can I see the document so that I can photocopy and keep, and then we'll chat and you control, check whatever what is contraband, and then you see what is not available, and then you advise me, because I told them that from January the taxes are coming off from January. I need a document telling us what we can pay for the whole year.
When.
So that we can follow a procedure now, because we are not harvesting money from somewhere, so that we can develop a plan, and then we go up to the councils, go up to the ministries, and regularize our documents. I don't know, then somebody will come and even present. Imagine that 3 ministries or 3 controls from the same ministries will come and control you, and at the end of the day you want to get. We know that you cannot have anything. L'agent de Cabran. What are those sort of things? They are making us to be very angry. I'm not asking myself.
This is a youth trying to pave the way. Not
Yes.
Because definitely you don't work alone. You have people who work with
If I
you.
was a lazy person, I was well brought up by my mother. May her rest in peace. Let me tell you something. Promise. If I was a lazy fellow, I could have been fidgeting around somewhere with a gun to make fast cash. But to be sincere, my mother told me not to ever soil my hands because of money. I have children here in Yaoundé. I have people here who are depending on me in Yaoundé. Now you are managing a certain tata business that you don't know how to develop a headline for the business. Somebody every day control this, control that, control this. Are we the one accepting, for example, that imported sugar to come in? Are we the one accepting the imported oil to come in? No, we are not. We are lost.
I would have loved to even consume Cameroonian, right? Let's get to you, Franklin Wanchin. I know that we have every reason to keep pointing fingers at the authorities and blame them for so many wrong things, but let's look at the youth themselves. We have an era when the highest juvenile delinquency, drug consumption, substance consumption, alcoholism, and all type of pornographic acts and all type of vandalisms are recorded among the youths. Can we say that the youth themselves are not ready to grow up and be responsible for their future of tomorrow?
Some of the youths may be ready to be responsible. They may be ready to face whatever responsibility is coming their way. But now, due to the fact that they are not given that opportunity to change, they find themselves in a situation where they cannot move out of it. That's where they find themselves. I will still, I blame the youth partially because most of them, they don't even reason on their own. Then I will also blame parents for failing to tell their children. I always say this, morality of a child is back home. It's nothing like in school or anywhere. For letting their children go loose, pretending that they are too occupied. Ask yourself this question. Why is it that a child will come back home, the parent will not have time to check at the child's back, to cross-check whether he has done the homework? But if that very child is being beaten in school, the parents have the time to go and fight the teacher. Some of these parents too also have a question mark. Also, I will blame those controlling, those in charge of educating the youth or whatever. Imagine in a country where a young girl of 16 knows that if I'm pregnant, I can go to school and feel free. If I go to school at 8 a.m., the teacher has no right to shout at me. That's how we are spoiling those youths. If we could make them to be time conscious, know that at 7 o'clock you have to be in school. Classes are beginning at 7:30. So that when you arrive at 7, you rest for 30 minutes, start learning. If you are pregnant, you are expelled. Because a school is not a maternity. Just imagine that you know very well that if I beat a fellow student, my teacher can beat me too very, very well. Because they are always afraid of a king. But now in a sense that someone knows that I can kill this one, nobody can beat me because I have my right as a student not to be beaten. Now they grow up in that area, they now know within themselves that I am for myself. If I don't fight hard, they will beat me. That's how they will start going into areas like, let me take hard drugs in order to prove myself that I'm very bold. Let me drink to show that I'm already a big boy. All those things, that's how they start coming in gradually. This is another question. According to the original law of this very country about an environment which is suitable for a school to be constructed in, there should be no bar beside it.
Yeah,
the bar will eliminate the noise and also evade the temptation of drinking. Look around Yaoundé. Show me a particular school where there's no bar.
Cohabiting. Closest
I want to
neighbor.
use this word in French. Coller. A bar coller sur le col. There are nearly every school has that. How will we control that? These students, when they come late to school, you cannot shout at them. When they are trying to lock the gate, they dash into the bar, remove the ops of their uniforms, go into the private. That's how they are doing all those things. So I am not blaming the youth in total, because if they were given that environment to grow seeing what they are seeing, like in China, children in China, there's an age limit where a child can use an Android phone. And those are Android phones until you are 18. You cannot have access to Facebook, WhatsApp and others. You have access to the internet for your research. If we could control all these things, our children will not know anything about pornography online. They will not know anything about drug addiction online. All those things, they will be far-fetched from their brain. They will be growing up knowing that, no, when I go online, I need to do a research and know the history of my country. I need to know the geographical location of my country. I need to know the precipitation about rain, all these things. But now when they are being loose and they are open to everything, remember, a wrong thing is easily copied than a right thing.
I generally don't understand why. Let me turn to you, Enisa Kofo. I know your generation, even though it's not very far from ours, but at least it was different. Where is the problem? Why do we have so much juvenile delinquency? We have youth who are... I remember even us who did class 7 back then, you were scared of your teacher. If your parents said, I will report to your teacher, you will plead and you will beg. But what's happening with this generation?
Thank you very much for that question. It's a very important question. There's a missing link, and the missing link is as a result of he tried already to enumerate some of the problems. The advent of information and communication technologies. You see, in the days old, these things were non-existent. The youths of today are rather using them in the negative sense, not in the positive sense. Very few are using them positively. And then I'll vividly remember that should be early 80, that should be 80, yes, 1980, when I was in level 6. When we had morning classes, I quite remember the module and the base. When you are coming and you know that you come and you not be performant and maybe have all of the 10 sums, you already know where you are. Teachers were venerated.
Yep.
They were conscientious. They were committed. They loved their job. But teachers of today, they go in for a salary and not for the job. People go in, most teachers today go in for the salary code and not for the job, because they say, well, let me just get into the school of education, especially at one point in time when it was selection through files. I quite remember that should be in the early 90s. When I graduated from Waikele, it was through selection until after when they brought in the affair of sitting in. So when you look at all of that, most of those who were selected at that time, we know what selection means in Cameroon, right?
Yeah.
The brown envelopes came in, and you see, you get teachers who unteach the children.
For real.
Those are some of the things which cause that. And then one thing today, the evolution of society demands that many things go along with it. Because if you have an evolving society without the corresponding commodities therein, there will always be a missing link. In the days old, life wasn't as hard as today. Because look at the minimum salary wage, which is 41,000 or almost 42,000. It is grossly insignificant. So much so that most parents, they go hustling because they want to make ends meet, and in that process they neglect their children. And when the children go out, they say a hungry man is an angry man.
That's right.
So when the children get out with hungry stomachs, do you think they go to class? They want to do everything possible to make ends meet, because when the child is hungry, the child can't sit attentively in class. Yes. And you see, this thing is a three-way traffic.
Okay.
He tried to bring it out, but he concealed it again. when you see the education stakeholders, I want to talk about the Ministry of Education. When they they take some measures like corporal punishment in schools. I want to tell you that there is no way you can discipline these are children of this delegation generation. I always want to call them the children of Paul Biya, because we are the children of Ayijo. The children of Paul Biya are too headstrong, and the only way to discipline them, when you use a whip. Promise, let me bring you an anecdote. Do you know why people fear men in uniform? Because they carry arms.
Yes.
If they never carried arms, nobody will fear them.
That's right.
But when you know that he has an arm, when he speaks, you don't talk.
Because you're
what is the arm of the teacher?
It's a
the cane. If the teacher hasn't got a cane, how you tell a teacher to tell a child to pick papers? When he picks papers, he comes, sits behind and starts grumbling. Whereas if you skid that child, he will never do it again. Yes, so when you look at all of those things, the children take it for granted. They say, what will I do? A child comes to school, those with parents who are well-to-do, with stolen money. Yeah, he comes to school with a car, the teacher parks the car, the child parks the car. That is unheard of. No. That's true. How do you expect the child to respect the teacher? Impossible. The teacher and the child, they drink in the same bar. That was unheard of in our days.
Exactly.
How dare you, even when your teacher is coming opposite, you do everything for your eyes not to meet with his. But today, the teachers, they are in the drinking spots with their students and pupils.
The same with their pupils.
Those are the missing links. That is where the society is getting down into doldrums every day. Yes. So until and unless those things, and then in the days past too, you could hardly see a pregnant girl, student in school. No. It was a taboo.
Even in our days, I remember in my class.
I said it was a taboo.
Yes,
even right to university, when a girl was pregnant, she may be married already, but she knows maybe within the 3 years she's doing her undergraduate course, she stays for the 3 years without, because if you carry the pregnancy, you can't be performant. With our educational system in the university, it's rushing. There are no classrooms. You have to rush to have a seat. You have to rush to sit for a test. You have to, everything is at universities is rushing. And then when you carry a fat tummy, how do you cope? Impossible.
The papers on this television, the Republican television, we are almost leaving the studio in a few seconds. Lambert, Kevin, you are a youth. What do you expect from the head of state's message to the youth tonight?
I expect the head of state to say it and mean it.
Okay.
That
say it and mean it, Your Excellency.
Youth should concentrate on agriculture, and space should be provided by the minister in charge, because you don't just say things and we are going to the farm. They want to tell us that half hectare of farm to rent is 50,000 and it is a black bush. You have to clear, you have to buy some input, pesticides, sprays and all the like, well, and at the end of the day your output is zero. So I expect the head of state to still talk about that, and the head of state should also provide an enabling environment for us to grow, because saying, as I keep saying, is another thing, and allowing us to do it
is another thing.
So if he can come and say
it and do it, and so by next year, February 10, we'll evaluate his speech.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why I started by saying that I don't want to evaluate his speech
of last year. Let's just go ahead. Franklin, what will we be expecting for at 8 p.m.?
I will also add to what my brother is saying here, that they should give us an enabling environment to do whatever we want to do. Support the youth. And let me just go back to what my senior man was saying, what Ernest was saying. The issue of creating organizations or whatever to help the youth, and people come in with their bottleneck ideas and hold it down. The head of state should try by all means to follow up. What kills our projects here in Cameroon is because when a project is signed, that's all. They should follow up and make sure that it is well done, because since I was born and grew up hearing the same head of state talking about Youth Day, he has promised and promised and promised, and I wonder.
It's going to change definitely this year. Ernest Akufo, I'm sure that comparing a youth day celebration of your time and now, it's two different stories.
Yes.
But what would you expect
for
to
time
see?
constraints, I can't get back to that. But I still have some nostalgia.
Oh, yeah.
When you went for the youth day, you never got Alaska. You never went for the youth day. You
never
never
ate
bought sugar cane. You
sugarcane.
never went for the youth day. You never ate rice and beans. You never went for the youth day.
Sardine.
Yeah, and sardine.
You have to buy
yes,
container of
you
sardine.
never went for the youth day. But today, there is a selection. Not all the children pass through the youth day. So, Mr. President, I know you'll be talking to us this evening. Because I'm a youth, right?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Instead of much. Yes.
You'll be talking to us this evening. I hope it will not be the same old sweet talk. But we want something concrete. Yes, you're talking about the digitalization of the society, making the youths be technologically at point. Create the enabling environment, Mr. President, and even the structures which you create, which need to make the youth benefit from them. There should be follow-up, as my junior ones have rightly said, because when there's not follow-up, the bottlenecks, they kill it. You see, when they're up there, they don't think about the people who followed them when they must have left. They only want to squander everything. So the problems of the youths are not far-fetched. Unemployment, moral decadence, promiscuity. There are just
We
too many
are
problems.
therefore calling on the head of state, the father of the nation, as he addresses the children tonight. He should take all their plight into consideration and also call the youth to be responsible in their actions. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a nice time being with you on the papers today again. Until we meet again next week, Friday, please keep having a wonderful time on Camdis Television, the Republican Television. Happy Youth Day to us all in advance.
En Afrique, Dieu a créé un pays.